It's lights out and away we go.
And hello, and welcome back to Away We Go podcast, a Formula One podcast that goes beyond the track limits to talk about lifestyle and travel surrounding the sport. And today, rumours. I'm joined by the lovely Ciara Gillan from Formula Live Pulse. Welcome back, Ciara.
Hi, thanks for having me back. It's great to be back. It feels like ages.
It has, yeah. The last week of the summer break at the moment. No racing for 3 weekends, which has been, strange, but
Long.
yeah, long. Yeah, long. This silly season's been pretty boring. Like, there hasn't been a lot of silliness going on.
No, where is our silliness? Where is our crazy moves by one driver that has the domino effect on the other drivers? I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed.
Yes, me too. But there are some confirmed things. So firstly, I want to congratulate George Russell and his long-term partner, Carmen Mundt. So they've just gotten engaged during the summer break, and she has a massive yellow diamond engagement ring, which I've seen reports that it's valued at like $1 million, this ring, which is, God, can you imagine wearing $1 million on your finger? Oh my God, it's stressing me out just thinking about it. It's beautiful. And congratulations to them both. It's happy news. And also it's confirmed that Charles Leclerc's wife, Alexandra, is pregnant. So those rumours were flying around Hungary. And yes, and she's happily posing with her beautiful baby bump during the summer break. 2 bits of happy news from the drivers away from racing. The only other confirmed bit of news really is that Cadillac sacked their team boss, Graham Loudon, and they've replaced him with Marcin Budkowski, who is the ex-Alpine executive director. I think Marcin has also worked for the FIA and a bunch of other teams. He's been around Formula One for a long time. Apparently Cadillac said that this is part of, a planned transition, but from the outside it was all very sudden, and yeah, they needed to do something.
Yeah. I feel bad. I mean, I feel bad that happens, 8 months into a new season. Okay, maybe it's not 8 months, February to August, so 6 months. But I think it's really, I think you should be given a year. I think it's the same with drivers. I think you should be given a year, given a chance, because there's so many different things that can happen. But there must be more to it behind the scenes for them. And this whole talk of, we don't expect to get podiums, we don't expect to be winning races in our first year. Clearly they do. Clearly they have some sort of KPIs that they're expecting to hit. And this guy wasn't hitting it this for them. So they were like, okay, out with you and in with someone else, Feels a little bit cutthroat, but I suppose that is Formula One, right?
Totally cutthroat. But Cadillac's the only team with no points. So, and they've had 9 retirements over 11 rounds. So it's not been a great season for them. Even though they're new, yes,
So that's my question to you, okay? Because I don't know now. Maybe you don't know either. But there have been, so obviously it's been 10 teams for a very long time, and Cadillac is not, the way there's obviously some teams like Kicksauber took over another team and, now it's Audi, whatever. But has there been another team that came in and in that first year just didn't score anything? You know what I mean? I think it's a bit unfair to compare Cadillac to the other teams with regards points and retirements, because they really are new. There's no, team behind them that might have had a bit of experience, etc. I mean, obviously you can hire that way, but yeah, it just feels a little.
So, I mean, then they've not got rookies in Formula One, in every position of the team. So they're, okay, that the team's new, but they've hired from, people with Formula One experience. So yeah, I feel like, look, it's sudden, it's cutthroat, 100%. But Cadillac is also a team with resources, right? They're not Alpine, they're not, well, Alpine's probably a bad example, but they're not Haas, right? They're not Haas, so, that's a team with that doesn't have anywhere close to the resources of the other teams. They're new, so you can give them some concessions, but to not even score a point and to have that many retirements, and their brakes have caught on fire how many times during the season? I guess the buck stops with the guy at the top.
No, 100%.
Yeah, he's the casualty. Yeah, I do feel sorry for him though.
I mean, you think about it also, we're going into the second half of the season, which has, I was going to say 3 US races, but it's actually only 2, it's Austin and Vegas. So there is that kind of like other expectation, I'm sure, by Cadillac being an American team where they want to score points in their home races, right? So yeah, no, look, I get it. And you're right, they're not rookies. They're not complete rookies. Yeah, new, but not totally. So
Yeah.
anyway, I'm sure I'm sure I'll get over
Yeah,
it.
I mean, yes, and look, it'll be interesting to see how they go in this second half of the season now with a new team boss. Like, will that be completely unsettling, or will the team start to perform as a result? And the worst part about it is that just as a result of the team performance, it does reflect badly on Bottas and Perez, even if it's not their fault. Like, these 2 old drivers, it doesn't bode well for their future in the sport either, so
I don't know. I mean, I totally understand what you're saying, and I think to a degree, yes. But I also think you already said it. Their performances, sorry, the team's performances has been marred by retirements, and the retirements are not crashes; they're brakes on fire. They're component elements. So it's nothing really in the grand scheme of things that Bottas and Perez could have overcome themselves. Plus, they're both race-winning drivers, right? It's
that's
not
true.
like it's Hulkenberg, who's only ever gotten 1 podium. Like, and I really, really admire Hulkenberg, so I have a lot of time for that guy. But I think the 2 of them will be okay. But I do agree, yeah, like if they have a better car, they need to be performing because they are both experienced drivers, bringing a lot to the table.
Exactly.
Did you hear, because there was a rumor going around that Perez was going to move to Williams?
Oh, I haven't heard that, Bremer. No.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like the thing of just everything being thrown out there, like all these different kind of, with Carlos, obviously we'll come to Cross in a minute, but Carlos leaving potentially Williams, who would go in instead of him, and Perez, I'm sure, as a guy who's more recently won races than in comparison to Bottas, right? He's obviously looking for a team that's really going to actually get him back up there on the podium. It would have been an interesting move. I couldn't see it happening personally, but but apparently he's committed to Cadillac.
Yeah, and I think like his Mexican background really, like, I think it just suits Cadillac. As far as like the whole team and brand and who their fan base is, I think it works really well there. But yeah, I mean, if you're a driver and not getting results, right? And you mentioned Hulkenberg, right, just before, who's only ever had 1 podium, a glorious podium that the whole paddock celebrated, right? It was fantastic. But you've got some news on the Audi team.
Well, not connected to Hulkenberg, but Bortoleto has confirmed. I think we wrote an article the other day. Bortoleto commits to Audi for the long term. Well, it all just swirls around the rumors, right, of Carlos Sainz, like that Carlos Sainz is deeply unhappy in Williams. And, there's talk of him going, oh, will he go to Red Bull if Max leave? Will he go to Audi? And will he go to, I think McLaren was the other one. I can't see him going to McLaren. I can't see McLaren taking a step down from Oscar to Carlos. As much as I love Carlos, don't get me wrong. But anyway, so with regards Audi, I just don't see Audi getting rid of Bortoleto. He's a young talent. He's gotten himself into Q3 many a times. He scored points. Like, he's not like he's totally failing. He won F2. Like, he's a talent on the rise. Why would you get rid of him? And then Hulkenberg is German. They're not going to get rid of a German driver. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So
Motorsport.com in Brazil said this week that there's no clauses in a long-term contract, not next year, but for the following years as well, as far as Bortoleto staying with Audi. So look, I feel like he's happy there as well. The team dynamic with him and Hulkenberg seems really lovely and amicable.
Yeah.
And he's in a car where he's able to, push in the midfield and, like you said, qualifying in Q3. So yeah, he's an absolute talent. He won, like Oscar, he won F3 in his rookie year. He won F2 in his rookie year, the year after, and then got a seat in F1. So
I get that there's a lot of pressure on rookies to perform and to step up when they come into Formula One, but I feel like Bortoleto has this maturity with him. Like, you don't really hear much about him yet. Then you'll see him in Q3. right? You know what I mean? And him and Hulkenberg, right? They'll swap, you know, and Audi, like Kick Sauber really wasn't great. Audi definitely has stepped up and it is performing better, but it's still a midfield team. But the two of them are pulling performances out of this semi-average car. So I just don't think they'd get rid of Bortoleto. No, definitely not.
No, I don't think so either. No, I think that's kind of watertight. Well, Max Verstappen's exit clause has kicked in, and that exit clause was that if he wasn't second or higher in the championship by the summer break, then he's got an exit clause, which has happened because he's currently in 6th in the Drivers' Championship. And he's complained a lot about the car this season, as we know, and the regulations. Like, he's not a big fan. A lot, I think, is hinging on Max Verstappen and what he decides to do. What Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin team, because he's, 46 now, like what he decides to do, if he's going to retire or stay. And then you've got Carlos Sainz in Williams, who has reportedly been offered 30 million euros by Williams to stay with the team for the next 2 years, I think it was. And then there's been rumours circulating around about Oscar Piastri not being happy with McLaren. And then that, you know, those rumours were flying around before the summer break. So just rumours, but nothing really substantiated or nothing that just, I guess, looks solid enough to go, oh yeah, I think that's going to happen. It's all speculation at the moment.
It's so fascinating because, like, I think in other seasons the rumors have just felt stronger. You know what I mean? Like, or we've been hit with something really big, and then it's a domino effect on everything else. I think the Carlos Sainz one is interesting though, because, and I like Williams, I like James Vowles, I like what he's trying to do with Williams, but I don't think Carlos has the playing cards that he thinks he has in comparison to when he was leaving Ferrari. You know, when he was leaving Ferrari, it was like, this is a race winning, you know, driver. He's up there and he's got so much talent, so much experience. He's got a really good racing brain. People should be jumping to get him. And there was obviously a tug of war for him. But now that he spent 2 years at Williams, or a year and a half, soon to be 2 years, you know, it's funny what you were saying about Bottas and Perez, how, you know, their bad performance, in fact, impacts them. I actually think it's true about Carlos. I think the year of bad performance with Williams has actually impacted Carlos Sainz. Like, I think last year he had a bad run of form and then he managed to get it back and he did great. He got 2 podiums. But this year, and I wonder if the shine is a little bit less on him, you know? Who's going to be jumping to take Carlos? Like, no, it's a serious question. Like, I'm curious. And I'm not saying people wouldn't, because he is a talent. So I'm just curious.
I don't have the stats in front of me, but I did hear on the Formula One podcast, F1 Nation, that he's outperformed Alex Albon most of the season. As far as Carlos Sainz goes, you know, I mean, it's like Cadillac. If the car's not there, then you're not going to get results. But looking at his past record, which is why Williams wanted him in the first place, is because every team he's been at, he's been able to help improve. Yeah, I feel like Carlos needs to be a little more patient. I feel like James Vowles talked up a big story. I mean, I really like James Vowles. I really love listening to him speak. It sounds like he often owns the situation and what's going on and doesn't really make excuses for it, but he's always positive for the future. But I feel like he's been a bit too positive for the future for too long now, and we're not seeing any changes with Williams, which is like so disappointing for the team, so disappointing for their fans, so disappointing for Carlos and Alex, you know, and Alex being the longest Williams driver in history to drive for the team. I don't know whether the shine has been taken off Carlos as much, but, you know, he's a driver that wants to be seeing progress, and at the moment that's not happening. I think if Williams were etching up and, you know, performing incrementally better and better each race or over the last 18 months, perhaps these rumours wouldn't be circulating. But I don't feel like that's happened with Williams. I feel like, if anything, they've gone majorly backwards with these new regulations.
Yeah, I think it's so unfortunate that it is new regulations, because I think that obviously, maybe this goes, I feel like this does go without saying, that if we hadn't gone into a new era of regulations, then Williams would have been able to capitalise on what they had done in 2025 and would have continued. You know, they finished fifth, they were doing much better, they really had taken a step up. And then they just seem to be drowning at the moment. They don't seem to be able to get a handle on the regulations and how to bring performance. And Carlos, like, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%, actually. I think that he needs to be more patient. I think he really needs to be more patient. However, I think he is a race-winning driver. So there is a part of him that kind of can't handle being in the midfield and being at the bottom of the midfield. I mean, the two of them in qualifying 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, you know, really like so badly. I don't think he can handle that, which I 100% understand. And then so that probably comes into his own ego. And then it also comes into kind of what I was saying about a fear, maybe, and maybe it's not true, but a fear as a driver. You know, obviously he's on the older age of the younger drivers there, going, well, if I'm not performing, who's going to want me? You know, when do I, there's an expression I was going to use, but I won't, but when do I jump ship? Like, you know, and I don't think he should jump ship, actually. I think he should give Williams one more year, personally.
I guess all that will depend on what's going on internally at Williams and whether he sees promise there or whether he's like, this is just more lip service from the executive that I've been hearing this for 2.5 years now. I don't want to hear it anymore, you know? But I can't see Carlos. I don't see him as a Red Bull driver. I don't see him. Yeah. Where else would he go? Where else would he go? Where he's going to have a chance at scoring points and, you know, getting podiums and being in a potentially race-winning car.
Like, if you think...
I don't think Mercedes are going to get rid of George Russell at the moment.
And I don't think they're going to take Carlos. Like, they didn't take him before, right?
I don't think it was even rumoured. It wasn't even rumoured before. They were looking at Max Verstappen, right? Just they weren't looking. I don't think Carlos was in the mix for Mercedes.
I think a lot of the top tiers kind of shunned him, and I maybe I'm wrong, but I think Carlos is a solid driver, and I think that in any team he's in, he can do amazing stuff. I'm not sure he's a world champion, if I'm very honest. I don't know. I do think he's got an amazing racing brain, and I think there's a lot of, you know, he's got a different attitude and a different approach to racing than some of the other drivers. And I definitely think he's a team championship winning driver, right? You know, and I think for the midfield teams, he's a value added, like he's a massive asset. But for something like Red Bull, where they've had championship after championship winner, is Carlos the guy who'd come in and lead? I don't know. Do you replace Max Verstappen with Carlos Sainz?
I don't know. If Max were to leave Red Bull, who would be their top pick?
Oscar Piastri.
Yeah.
That would be my top pick. If the market was open, and if the market was open, I mean, putting Kimi Antonelli aside and Charles Leclerc aside, Oscar Piastri would be my top pick. I think Charles will see his career out with Ferrari.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I think,
I don't want to see Oscar go to, I mean, I would hate for that to happen, for Oscar to go to Red Bull, because that team is so ruthless. It's now or never. It's do or die. They just don't take any prisoners. And there's so much out of a driver's control, right? Like, you've got a car that might be difficult to drive or set up for a different driving style. I mean, 100%. That said, I'm not in love with the idea of Oscar staying with McLaren either, because that team has just driven me around the bend and up the wall and around the corner for 2 seasons now. And I don't think, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I don't think that Oscar and Lando are on a level playing field as far as treatment at McLaren, despite all the PR lines that we hear from McLaren and the drivers themselves. That said, if Red Bull was the only other choice for Oscar, would I want him to move across there? Maybe Red Bull's a bit more compassionate now that Helmet's out and Horner's out, you know? Maybe maybe the team culture is somewhat softened a little. I don't know. Do
you not think Red Bull has changed a bit? Because I think they've changed a bit. I do wonder if they're more compassionate and have the same query as you. But also, if he was going in to replace Max, the reason why I would like to see it happen, or I'd be open to seeing it happen, is because I think he would go in as a clear number one. And the difference is that he would have choices and he would have say. That's what I would assume. Now, maybe that's not true. But if you're going in as a second to Max, you're going in under Max's thing. You're having to do what Max wants to do and happen.
Exactly.
And that's why these other guys have struggled, But I feel like if he was to go in as numero uno and the team was molded around him, it could be a fantastic opportunity for him. It really could be. However, the bigger question I have is, do Red Bull still have it? Do they still have the winning ways with dare I say it, with Christian Horner gone, with Helmut Marko gone, with a lot of people that have left the team in the wake of, I don't want to say the Christian Horner scandal, but whatever. So do they still have it? Is Red Bull still the same championship winning team? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, you're right. There's been a mass exodus of senior personnel out of Red Bull in recent times. That's been very well reported. Look, I hear your point, and it's a good point, and I feel like wherever Oscar goes next, I agree, he has to be numero uno. He has to be the number one driver, or there's no point moving. He may as well stay with McLaren, which have proven to be competitive. I feel so anxious just thinking about it, actually, which is weird because it's all rumor and conjecture, but it's making me feel stressed. Yeah.
Well, 100% right, because I've looked at other drivers in the past and I've seen them make these moves and then it's destroyed their careers. And so I'd be the same as you. I 100% agree. Oscar should only move if he's numero uno. And even then I'm like, oh, should he? Because McLaren still seem to be able, like after winning the last race, there's something unlocked in them now. And I'm like, oh, I just feel like over the past 4 years, is it 4 years? Maybe it's less, that they have just changed something in that team. And I'm like, oh, is it too early to jump ship? I know you're not treated the same way as Lando, but if you can prove that you are a championship winning driver and just get back on form, then they would be crazy to not be backing you, right? So I don't particularly want him to leave McLaren because I do think he can win a championship at McLaren, but he's got to also get back on form as well.
True.
If you think about it, okay, of the top teams, I don't see him moving to Mercedes. If he moves to Mercedes, he's second to Antonelli. He's just going to be second to Antonelli, If he moves to Ferrari I love Ferrari, but Ferrari are like,
Yes.
Yeah, I got exactly, yeah. And then who's the other McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull, right? They're the top four teams. And then you come into the second tier of teams, and it's not that none of them could become champions, but it's a bigger risk. It's a bigger journey to get there, as Carlos Sainz is saying.
Oh God, rumors.
I know.
The only other rumor that I've seen floating around is Imola potentially being earmarked as the final race of the season if the Middle Eastern races do not go ahead in Abu Dhabi and Qatar. Yeah. So, I think Imola would be a great finale for Formula One if that were the case, but nothing's been announced. I would have thought that something could be announced by now.
I'd say they're working very hard at moving it. To my understanding, that war is still going on. Apparently, they lost, Formula One has already lost a massive amount of money by losing Bahrain and Saudi Arabia at the start of the year. Obviously, they're going to gain some of it back with Malaysia, but I'm sure they've lost money with having to have Malaysia, etc., blah, blah, blah. So I would think that even though it's not been announced, I would be shocked if they're not making serious plans already to get this in action. I do think Imola is such a wonderful choice, but the little cynic in me, I did a video of this a few weeks ago about Formula One's decision to choose Imola of all the tracks. Now everyone's like, look, Imola is ready, it's got less prep than Spain or Turkey or whatever, even Madrid's still struggling to get ready, blah, blah, blah. But I still thought, you know what, they were quick to say bye-bye to Imola, and now that we have an Italian leading the championship and we have Ferrari second in the championship, it's like, it's a bit convenient. But Hey, I'd be delighted for the people of Imola, and it's such a beautiful town. They're such lovely people. They've had Formula One there for years. They're very proud. So I'd love to see the finale there. 100%.
Yeah, well, let's hope that an official announcement is made soon so everyone can start making travel plans and get to the final race.
Did you book?
Did I book? Like, weirdly, I signed up for notifications of when tickets would go on sale, like to the, the newsletter or whatever on the website. Did not get, I still haven't got any notifications. And then I was scrolling social media late on, it must have been Thursday night. And I saw tickets on sale. I'm like, what? So I jumped online. Gosh, I was like 8,500 in the queue. And that queue number kept going up and down. It was so frustrating. Like, oh, am I going to get tickets?
Somebody was actually looking at it and we were looking at the different prices and it wasn't too crazy. We were looking, was it in American dollars that was coming for us? But it wasn't too crazy. But now when I hear that there were like 8,000 in the queue, I'm like, okay, we would never have gotten tickets.
I've seen social media posts of other people's with like screenshots at 56,000 in the queue. And a lot of people just seeing some social media posts missed out on tickets because there was no email notification. There was no forewarning. Tickets will go on sale at this time on this date. They just opened up and went on sale.
Well, just speaking of races, because another rumor actually I heard was that with Audi and Mercedes being now both in Formula One, that maybe Germany, the track in Germany might be coming back. So that's interesting. And I wonder, I mean, maybe it would be a swapping the way they're doing with, is it Spa and Barcelona? I think that they're swapping year on year, year after year. But maybe with the Middle East being so volatile at the moment, maybe they're looking and saying, well, what more races could we get in Europe? I don't know, because apparently they're not looking at getting more races in the US because of, towards the end of the year, they decided not to go to the US because of NFL and other stuff that's happening there. And they think they wouldn't get the audience. But yeah, maybe they'll be looking for other destinations to compensate for the Middle East for the next year.
Yeah, so maybe Rwanda and Cape Town. I've also seen those rumours. And it would be so great for Formula One to have a presence in Africa, right? Like Lewis Hamilton's been calling for it for years. It would be just so great for a global sport to be properly global. Also, Argentina, Buenos Aires is been earmarked as potential, not this year, but potential race destination for next year. I think next year. So, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Lots to watch out for.
Exactly. Well, I think we've covered the rumour mill for the silly season that hasn't been as nearly as silly as what we would have liked. Well, with that, I think we'll sign off.
I'll see you next week.
See you next week. Yes, we've got the Dutch Grand Prix. The Dutch Grand Prix next week. They'll be racing back on, which I'm very much looking forward to. So thank you, everybody, for having us in your ears. Thanks for listening. You can drop us a like or a comment. We'd love you to subscribe to the show and follow along. Hello, if you're watching on YouTube, and you can follow us on all the social media platforms. Also follow Ciara. She's tagged in a lot of the posts. The videos you're doing at the moment are brilliant. I'm really enjoying your Formula One content, so keep that up. But until next week, and until lights out.
Are you ready? It's lights out and away we go.
Away We Go podcast is produced by Diane Bortoletto.